the second keynote talk about things happening inside formal institutions as a way of saying this is the 10-year anniversary, so let's reflect back a little bit and look at some of what we've accomplished over the last decade of folks that have been coming to the conference and projects that are going on in the community. So what we're going to do, as Chris mentioned, we're going to have an army of folks come up and talk about initiatives that they've been running, and they're only going to talk about a very small piece of what they're doing, because everybody that's going to come up here has some kind of website or some kind of outreach that they're doing that's going out to the community, that's blessing the lives of people that aren't students at their institution. But we've asked them to focus very narrowly on what we call the displacing adoption of OER. So it's an adoption of OER that moves the $150 textbook out and replaces it with open educational resources. So as they talk, you'll hear them talk about the number of students that they've served, the amount of money those students have saved, and the numbers that you'll hear them say may be smaller than numbers you've heard them say other places, but that's because they're not talking about all the traffic to their website and the millions of visits that they get. They're just going to talk about displacing adoptions in formal classrooms and actual numbers of dollars that students have saved. And I'm going to let Nicole explain the methodology for how this is all working.
Thanks, David. So I was actually having a conversation last night, and somebody asked me, well, why haven't we done this before? Why haven't we come up with the amount of money that we've saved students through the use of OER? And it's because it's a very complicated process. You know, OER, it depends on the context it's used in, the country, the school district, and even the subject matter. So I want to tell you a little bit about how we came up with a way to navigate those challenges. So for K-12, it's actually pretty simple, because K-12 adoptions of textbooks and open educational resources tend to be larger and school-wide, and it's easier to figure out exactly how many students are in a course and how much the book cost before and how much the open textbook cost. So for we're going to be hearing from 2 K-12 projects today, and their savings number are calculated on their actual costs and actual number of students in their courses. Higher education, though, is a little bit more complicated than that, because in higher education, textbook purchases are done on the student level, and a lot of times students don't even pay the sticker price. They'll buy used books or rent textbooks in an effort to save costs, or won't even buy the textbook at all because it's too expensive. And adoptions happen on a much more granular level, so they're much harder to track and figure out, you know, the exact amount of savings. So in order to come up with a way to navigate that, David and I sat down and just looked at a bunch of different estimates for student savings, average student savings on OER. And what we realized is that they all fall into the $90 to $115 range saved per student per course using OER. So we decided to make things simple and say across the board, for higher education savings, students served by displacing adoptions times $100 is how much we're going to save for student savings. And we're going to hear from 12 higher education projects today, and each of them have calculated their own savings number based on the particulars of their projects. So this number doesn't replace the numbers that they've developed, but it provides a common measure that allows us to showcase the impact. And while it's not going to be a precise measure, it's both realistic and conservative, and it's going to be a meaningful number for us to have. So with that, I would like to introduce our panel of 15 presentations.
Very, very fast presentation.
So we're going to do 2 minutes each, and at the end of each slide, we're going to, or end of each presentation, we're going to announce the cumulative amount so far that we've saved students through the use of OER, and at the end, we're going to have a big number for you. So stay tuned for that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Norm Beer.
When I was invited to do this, I didn't know I was going to be the lead soldier in the army of David Wiley and Nicole Allen. No pressure. I'm Norman Beer. I'm with the Open Learning Initiative at Carnegie Mellon, and you can find examples of our work and research at oli.cmu.edu. If you're not familiar with OLI, We combine our current best understanding of how human beings learn with current affordances of technology to design, develop, and deliver learning environments that are specifically designed to not just improve learners' understanding, but also take the data that we gather and feed it back into our understanding of how human beings learn. Most of our work has been focused on enacting instruction for independent learners, but we've also found that this same approach can be incredibly effective when we put it into a classroom. So far, in the past 11 years, we've put this into the classroom for 106,963 students, for a saving so far of $10,696,000 and, $300.
Thanks so much, Norm. So that puts our total so far at $10,696,300. So now I'd like to turn it over to David Wiley, who will be speaking about flat world knowledge.
Go ahead and boo. Okay. So, Flat World Knowledge, as you'll remember, used to be a commercial publisher of open textbooks founded in 2007, published about 100 books in a catalog of, most of the catalog was in the business area, but they did branch out eventually and got into areas other than business. We learned at this conference last year that some of the investors had decided to change their business model so that they no longer published open textbooks as of January 1, 2013. But during the time that they were publishing these open textbooks, they were being adopted by a lot of schools and did make a significant impact. During that time, this is the number of students that, again, displacing adoptions, actual students in classrooms around the country where they used a flat world book as opposed to another book, 479,471 students, for a total savings of $47,900,000 some dollars. Oh, excuse me, wait, I almost left out the most important part. These books that were published under an open license, because they were published under an open license, are still available under an open license, even though you can't get them from that website. But there are a lot of places you can get them, most notably Saylor.org/books. You can still find the whole catalog there. Thank you to, where's the Saylor team? Thank you guys for that work. Yeah.
So that brings our total to $58,643,400. So now I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Glassmeyer from E. Langdale Press.
How do I make this flip? There we go. Hi, my name is Sarah Glassmeyer, and I am from the Center for Computer Assisted Legal Instruction, or CALI, and we are a nonprofit consortium of over 200 law schools in the United States and Canada. We don't see our logo, but we are named for Christopher Columbus Langdell, who is the founder of the case law method, a former Harvard law professor. We have a really cute little cartoon of him and his massive 19th century beard. In theory, legal education is ripe for OER. Our law students read public domain cases. The curriculum is actually really standardized across the first year from Harvard all the way to the smallest little law school in Idaho. Yet not so much. It's been a bit of a struggle as we've had legal information is wrapped up in copyright and bad formatting. And surprise, surprise, lawyers don't like to share. I know, surprise face. But we have adopted a very standardized model in which we pay law professors to write our casebooks. We even publish them in print. It's like a decoy duck, or maybe like that coffee commercial. We've secretly replaced your commercial casebook with an OER publication. Will they notice? We're very happy that we have gotten three classes outside of our authors to adopt our books. So we are a very tiny project right now. We're only 2 years. We've served 675 students for a grand total of $67,500 in savings. Thank you.
So that brings us to an even $58,710,900. Next, I'd like to introduce Connie Britton from the Washington State Board of Community and Technical Colleges.
Good morning, everyone. I here represent the Open Course Library. I knew this would happen. Thank you. The Open Course Library is a collection of the 81 highest enrolled courses in our system of 34 community and technical colleges in the state of Washington. We hired faculty developers from among our colleges and provided support from faculty librarians, instructional designers, and accessibility specialists to create content for those courses that would cost the students $30 or less. The faculty came up with a wide variety of solutions, and all of their products are shared under a CC BY license. The thing we've learned that I think is important is that the adoption of open resources is like world peace. It's an obvious idea and a good idea, but you're going to have to involve a lot of people and a lot of different methods to make it happen. And we think that our project is moving that way. One detail that we are focused on now is sustained, focused, and increased support and professional development for faculty, because that's where it's going to happen. To date, and we just finished in April, we've served a total of 57,114 students, and we have saved $5,711,000. Oops, and 400.
So that brings us to $64,422,300. Next up is David Harris from OpenStax College.
Thank you very much. I'm David Harris, the editor-in-chief for OpenStax College out of Rice University. That is our website. OpenStax College was started a few years ago to create 25 very high-quality, peer-reviewed, professionally developed OER textbooks. We've been supported by the Gates Foundation, the Hewlett Foundation, the 20 Million Minds Foundation, and the John and Laura Arnold Foundation. The books have been very well received in the market, and we launched the first 2 books in June 2012, and the response has been tremendous. Over 50,983 students have used them so far in a very short period of time, and we've saved over $5,098,000, and this is just the beginning.
Thank you, David. That brings us to $69,520,600. Now I'd like to introduce Donna Gaudet from Scottsdale Community College.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to share. I'm here representing Scottsdale Community College in the Maricopa Community College District. We are one of 10 colleges in that district, and our math project materials can be found at the website that's listed here. So if you have any interest in primarily developmental mathematics through college algebra, take a look at that link there. Just to describe our project, we are currently offering 6 math courses using only open educational resources, arithmetic through pre-calculus. And these materials that we're using were developed in a variety of ways. We have workbooks and videos that were created in-house, and then we have textbooks that were either adapted or adopted from OER sources, places like CK12. We're looking at some titles from David Lippman and some other folks that have done some open publishing. And we're very excited to say that as of today, we have served a total of 6,550 students. That's over 3 semesters and a summer, for a total savings of $655,000. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. That brings us to $70,175,600. Now I'd like to introduce Kim Thanos from Lumen Learning.
Thank you, Nicole. We are Lumen Learning. We're a newly formed company. This is we were formed in October of 2012, so we're at the 1-year anniversary and are really excited to share with you the first year's results of our work. I feel like we're a bit of a bridge And so you're hearing from developers of OER, and you're hearing from institutions that are adopting OER. And our role is to help make that happen across the country. And so to help any institution have the capability to really use OER as an institutional strategy to improve student access and success in a pervasive way. So I feel like our role is to go around the country today and hopefully around the world and create small fissures everywhere we go that start to break open to create the kind of change that collectively as a community we're trying to create. So it's a bit tricky for me because while we want to highlight the success, I also feel like I'm here to take credit for the work of many, many, many people. The developers have done a lot of work and the adopters have done a lot of work, and we play a role there. But I think it's important to really thank those who have done so much to make that happen. So the number of students impacted is 13,000 students. I jumped ahead and got credit for more than I deserved. The total savings is $1.3 million, and that's through a combination of the Kaleidoscope Project, working with individual institutions like Tidewater, the Virginia Community College System, and others, and then also the success with the increased adoption of My Open Math. And I just can't hand back the microphone without making a tiny case for the fact that we have so many fabulous videos created by James Sousa and others that are in My Open Math that would really benefit from some assistance with captioning. So please, if you have resources around captioning, we would love your help. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kim. Brings us to $71,475,600. Next up is Dave Ernst from the University of Minnesota.
Thank you. Okay, yes, I'm Dave Ernst from the University of Minnesota. I do have to correct a previous keynote speaker about in the discussion about the location of the U of M. It's actually in Minnesota. I do want to talk, we have a relatively small initiative. We have, well, I guess we'll get to the numbers last, but one thing we're trying to do is leverage that, whatever we learn about trying to getting through the barriers of getting adoptions with the community at large. So for instance, we found that our faculty had problems finding open textbooks, that it took a lot of energy and time that they don't have to find them. So we did create the open.umn.edu, a catalog of, now has 140 open textbooks in it. We had a hard time getting faculty's attention. So all the things we've done are really dealing with kind of barriers that we have found on the ground. Getting their attention, even if we educate them on the issues and show them where the books are, we found that they just didn't have time a lot of times to engage with the book. So money talks. We pay them a small stipend to do what faculty know how to do, review academic works. And so they looked at the textbooks, and what we found was of the 9 that reviewed them, 7 adopted, and in fact, the number actually isn't 7, it's 11, because those 7 went back and convinced 4 others to do it. So that's a strategy we've learned and would like to share. And again, we want to be able to share this with as many people as possible, what we've learned. So we have, there we go, 1,107 students impacted, total amount just over $110,000.
Thanks so much. And bringing us to $71,586,300. Next up is Quill West from Tacoma Community College.
At Tacoma Community College, our Open Education Resources Project is about inspiring faculty and students. It's a student-funded project. Our student government pays for it. And through that project, we have been able to serve 3,665 students, and that brings our total savings to $366,500. Okay, whatever. Thank you.
Thanks, Quill. That brings us to $71,952,800. I'd like to introduce Richard Sebastian from the Virginia Community College System.
Hi, thank you. It's great to be here. Our projects are fairly new, and the project I worked on was more of a system-wide. You're going to hear from some of our individual colleges next. So we had a project basically to, and this is our website, to look at the adoption rate. So we'd heard a lot about textbook creation, and in my conversations with David Wiley, we would look at the adoption. So we released a grant that encouraged faculty to adopt open materials for some of our highest enrolled classes, with the idea that once these are developed, then it can scale more easily if they're adopted by other classes. So again, getting faculty interest was a little bit difficult because there's still a lot, not a lot known about OER across our system. But we did get 12 faculty who did apply and developed their courses, and again, just adapted mostly already existing OER materials. And this was done really over a period from April to July of this past year. So they're just being piloted right now. And as part of their grant, the only requirement for them is to pilot at least 2 sections, so fall and spring, for example. So we have another semester where they'll pilot them. So they did 20 sections overall, with 520 students served at those colleges, and the savings is, oops, sorry, $52,000. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. That brings us to $72,004,800. Next up, Preston Davis from Nova.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So our project is an open educational resources-based general study certificate program. Our goal, and that's our website if you want to learn more about it, and I will be presenting about this in the next session. We wanted to offer 12 courses that used open educational resources, general studies courses that had a high impact, a large footprint at the college. And we involved our librarian for our distance learning program, instructional design team, and myself to work with faculty to replace textbooks with free and open resources in the 12 courses. And we're planning on pursuing more courses in the next semester. We have currently we have 51 sections of the courses that are being run this semester, and we have 1,220 students enrolled in those courses at this time for a total savings of $122,000 in the pilot semester.
Thanks so much. Bringing us to $72,126,800. Next up is Linda Williams from Tidewater Community College.
Good morning. I am Linda Williams, and I am proudly standing here to represent the Z degree created by Tidewater Community College. The Z degree has the distinction of being the first 2-year associate degree that is 100% transferable to a 4-year university that requires our students to expend $0 on textbooks from start to finish. We created 21 courses, which we have dubbed Z courses. We have about 2,900 students enrolled each semester in this degree. This is our pilot semester. I want to use the rest of my minute and 45 seconds for the faculty team who have traveled from Virginia. Pam, Deborah, Kim Bovey, and Diane Ryan are here. These are the people who did it. They started January 4th. Students enrolled August 22nd. Can I just tell you, it was the first exposure TCC had ever had to OER. So through the efforts of our Chief Academic Officer and this amazing, amazing faculty team I had the great honor to lead, we served 421 students in our pilot semester and saved them $42,100.
And it's only going up from there, right? So that concludes the higher education focused presentations. Now we're going to transition to K-12 with two great presentations. First up is Sarah Young from the Utah State Board of Education.
So I'm from the State Office of Education. I don't know if they'd elect me in this state. So let's see. So the Utah State Office of Education has been involved in several OER projects. I'm going to highlight the one that was part of this last year where we worked on secondary science education. These are teachers in our current classrooms who came together on a voluntary basis to be able to participate utilizing CK-12 resources to pull together texts that are specific to the Utah Science Core. These books are for grades 7 through 12. They're available online for free or the direct-to-print costs. And with that, they went live in the fall of this school academic year. We've had actually over 35,000 students who have had the opportunity to purchase the hard copy text. That's not recognizing the numbers involved who have used the online or free download. I just want to highlight that's 35,000 classroom kids who for the very first time will have the opportunity to keep their book. So it makes a huge difference, not just in terms of cost, but in terms of the type of learning we're able to offer in the classroom. That saves $87,500, which is $87,500 that those teachers and schools can now use to support hands-on learning and science education. So it translates really effectively.
Bringing us to $72,256,400. I'd like to introduce Mark Horner from Siavula.
Good morning. Let's see. All right. I'm representing Siavula Education. So just so you know, Siavula means we are opening. We're a company based in Cape Town, South Africa. Right. Let's get. So you can go and read our website, which will be updated shortly. We are a for-profit company. But we've structured our company as a social enterprise. So we have partly owned by a philanthropic foundation, the Shuttleworth Foundation, and roughly comparable stake owned by a financial services company in South Africa called PSG Financial Services. And our mission as a company, my graphic didn't work. No, it's all right. You use PowerPoint, we use OpenOffice. I had a graphic. So what we try to do as a company is work at the kind of intersection of community, openness, and technology. We're actually a technology company, but we've got a lot of background in open educational resources coming out of the Shuttleworth Foundation. And we've developed a lot of resources. And it's taken us a long road. We've only been a company for 18 months now. But we've been working as an organization called Siavula for a long time within the Shuttleworth Foundation. So we want to just make sure that learners have access to the best educational resources possible. And that access means we've got to share them, they've got to be cost effective, they've got to be open, they've got to be adaptable, they've got to be contextualized, all sorts of good things that you know from the open movement. But what makes us a little bit different is, so working in the school context in South Africa, we're K-12 focused. We've got a really good relationship with our National Department of Basic Education, which has allowed us to deliver some OERs that have been used by every single child at a government school in the whole country. So we've got a lot of books out there. We've got 20, at the end of this year, we'll have 20 OER titles, and our goal is to scale that up to 50 by end of 2016 and really have a massive systemic impact on national textbook usage by the our Ministry of Education. But so far, the ones that where we've actually displaced publishers' books gets us to about 4 million students. So the books are quite a lot cheaper than the numbers you're throwing around in South Africa. So our total saving isn't as much, but I'm really chuffed with the number of learners. So every single kid in grade 4, 5, and 6 in South Africa has an openly licensed textbook for one of their subjects. And our savings are, so converting to dollars, 23,500,000. Cool. Thanks.
He was all upset about having to knock off the extra zero to convert to US dollars. But just to update us on our total, we've jumped a lot up to $95,756,400. So for the last 2 minutes of this keynote panel, I wanted to mention a couple of projects that wanted to be here at Open Ed and represent the student savings that they've generated but weren't in the room. And when I say notable projects, there are literally dozens of projects that I contacted in developing the numbers that we've used here today. So I'm going to present 4 projects now, but there are probably 50 projects out there right now that we could have used in this program, and I think that there's a lot of potential to expand upon this in the future, to encompass more numbers and more projects, and really track over time the impact that OER is having for students. So I'm going to run through the 4 projects. The first is Orange Grove Text Plus, which is an initiative of Florida Virtual Campus and the Florida University Press of Florida. They've served 530,000 students and saved 5,300 students and saved $530,000. College of the Canyons is a community college in California that's run a great OER initiative. James Glapper-Grossklag has been a real leader in the OER movement as part of the Community College Consortium for OER. There's Una Daly, who helped me connect with him. And at the College of the Canyons, they've served 5,560 students and saved $556,000. The last 2 are actual textbooks that have been written by authors. This first one is Precalculus by Stitz and Ziegler. This is widely used across the country, and so far they've served 1,354 students and saved $1,235,400. And finally, Collaborative Statistics by Barbara Olowski and student Susan Dean. Barbara was actually here at the conference, but unfortunately had to leave. But we wanted to make sure to showcase her book. This is just at one college. This is at De Anza College, where Barbara is a faculty member. They have served 23,000 students over the last 3 or 4 years. And that has generated $2,300,000 in savings. And with those 4 projects alone, so not counting any of the other projects that are out there working on this, that brings our total to $100 million, $667,800. So $100 million have been saved through the work that we all are doing. And while this is just one measure that we can take of the impact of OER, it's currency is a common denominator, and it's in a way that we can communicate the impact to lawmakers, to education institutions, to faculty members and teachers. So I'm hoping that something bigger can come out of this, and we can continue tracking these numbers from year to year. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David Wiley to close.
Thanks. So a year or 2 ago, we started talking about this idea of saving students $1 billion. And that just seemed like a crazy, really audacious goal that was so far away that maybe we could rally people around the idea, but can you rally people around a goal that seems like it's so far away that maybe it's unattainable? But as we started putting together the numbers for this presentation and looking at it, we said, we're 1/10 of the way there already. And a lot of the initiatives that presented here today are in their first semester or in their first year, or maybe they've been at it for 18 months. And I think it's absolutely totally possible for us to get to $1 billion of savings just in displacing adoptions in formal classes for actual students enrolled in degree granting programs, not counting all the other types of impacts that we might have. So my challenge to you and to the field is to say, by the time we're together again 5 years from now, at the 15th annual Open Ed, at Open Ed 18, let's get back up and let's look at these numbers again and see how close we got. Because we're on the inflection point now that I think with some focused effort, both by people who are producing, both by organizations that are out beating the street trying to help people adopt, I think we can absolutely get there. And while it's not only about savings, like Nicole is saying, of course the thing we actually care about most is student learning and what student learning does for students in improving their lives and the lives of their families and those people that they care about. Making it more affordable makes it easier for them to engage in that. And this is kind of a common denominator that we can talk about, that policymakers can understand, and that my mom can understand when I talk to her and say, you know, this crazy conference I went to, we were talking about all the work we've done over the last couple of years. We've saved students $100 million. My mom gets that, right? And I love my mom. I want her to appreciate the work that we do. So my challenge to all of you is, 5 years from now, let's come back and let's say we took it from $100 million to $1 billion. We can absolutely get there, so let's get it done. Thank you.